7 and welcome back to another Sims 4 Create a Sim here on the channel, and we are continuing on with my D&D characters turned into Sims series, where I take the D&D characters that I have come up with and drawn and actually attempt to try to recreate them in Sims. Now that somewhat may seem slightly easy since they are my own characters, they're what I came up with, but I am trying to stick to as closely as what I drew them as, and also like how I envision them when I draw them, and not just changing them up completely so that they fit for Sims. But obviously I do have to make some changes here and there, but that's part of the challenge, trying to get them as close as possible to the original without actually changing too much. Now the biggest thing with Holt here that I changed, this is Holt by the way, I didn't say his name, Holt Birchtuff, was forgetting the last name. He is actually a gnome, so therefore he is supposed to be quite short. He is literally like 3'2". In Sims, we can't really do that. I know there is technically a mod out there for a height slider, but one, the height slider could not get a young adult to 3'2". I know that without actually ever playing around with it. Just from what I've seen some people play with it and stuff like that, it doesn't get that short. But yeah, I could have like at least represented him being shorter than most of the others by doing that. But I personally don't like the height slider just because it makes the animations very, very messed up. Like, just subtle height differences doesn't really bother it, but dramatic height differences do, especially when two Sims are communicating with each other. So I just choose to never fold with the height slider myself, but for anyone who likes to use it, that's perfectly fine. Like, I don't mind watching people use it, it's just for my personal use, I don't really like it. So, he is the regular height of a Sim, normal height as everyone else, but we'll just imagine that he's tiny. But yeah, so he is a gnome, and he is male, obviously. He's around 50 years old for a male, but a gnome, but that's actually not that old. Like, it seems old, but one of the things with D&D is, like, not every race has the same age span as humans. Elves live a really freaking long time, like, compared to humans, and then there's one or two races that live shorter than humans, and I can't remember them right now. And then also, there's also homebrew races, so when you get into the homebrew races, a lot of times homebrew races, you know, they don't have the same lifespan as a normal human either. So, 50 may sound old, but he's not. He's actually pretty young. He's like young adult age for a gnome. So, him and Eva and Nita all set, like, Nita's age is in the hundreds, Eva's is like normal 20s, and his is in the 50s, but maturity-wise, they're all about in the same spot. So yeah, little confusing, but that's just how it is. He has a primeval, no, it's not primeval, primeval, I can't say it, guardian, ranger. If you've watched me on this channel for a bit, you know sometimes I have a really hard time pronouncing things, so we'll just look past that. But yeah, so that's what he is. He is a ranger. He, basically, with his backstory, he lives in, like, a little tiny gnome village, and, like, everyone sort of has, like, their roles to play, and his father was, like, one of the gatherers of the group that actually went a little bit further away from the village to gather things. And he always inspired to be as good or better than his father. Like, he wanted to prove that he could be, and, like, he looked up to his father greatly, and one of the things his father liked collecting and liked gathering things, and there was always this one thing that his father had heard about, but he never could collect. His father ends up getting sick eventually and passing away, and that's when Holt decides that, you know, he's gonna go set out to do what his dad wanted to do, but couldn't, and he was gonna go find this artifact that they all heard about and, like, was looking, like, would try to find when they went out and never did. So he decides that he wants to leave, and he feels like he needs to go traveling further away than they ever did to actually find what they were looking for. So that is what he ends up doing, because he runs into a group of travelers and decides to go with them. If you watched the previous episodes, you probably know that this is one of the characters that was part of me taking slight inspiration from the Evolutions to create D&D characters. Therefore, they're all in a group together. Therefore, Eva, Fee, Via, Itzel, Myron, and Efi are the travelers that he ends up coming across. He actually doesn't come across them until he started trying to travel on his own. They actually find him sort of passed out in a field because he was not well prepared as he thought he was, like, with food and water. Because, you know, he had never actually went traveling, even remotely any. Really, he mainly basically stayed in the village for most of his life. He went out of it a few times here and there, but it wasn't even that far. So when he actually tried to go extremely far distance, he was not as prepared as he should have been. But the lovely gang help him out, and he asked them if he can actually travel with them and stuff and get used to traveling. I want to play it off like every once in a while the group actually splits up, and I partially want to say that Eva probably made something with her being a artificer that is a way for them to communicate with each other, like, maybe not necessarily by words, but, like, it lights up, or it does something so that they know, like, hey, we should try to find a way to meet up, or something like that, along the lines, so that when they're separated, they can get back together easy. And if I ever did a DMing thing, then I put them in my world, that's sort of what it would be. There would be a chance for you to run into one of them by themselves, a few of them together, or all of them together. So, that is sort of how I would play that off, but he does go traveling with him to learn the ways of, like, traveling, and also to have people help him when, you know, things go awry, like they obviously went. I think Holt and Sims actually turned adorable. If you haven't gathered already, the loose inspiration of the evolution is Leafeon, and honestly, I had a newfound love for the Pokemon Leafeon recently, like, within, like, the last year or so. But I will say, when it comes to a lot of my D&D characters, like even the ones that have not popped up in this series, and the ones that will not, I have some that I've made that I've decided there's a cutoff point for making the series. I might do a series 2 if anyone's interested, of the characters that I make after this, after, like, these characters. But I will say, like, for some reason, like, I like Holt, don't get me wrong, and I love him, and his sim is honestly super adorable. But he isn't necessarily one of them I get, like, super excited about when I talk about the D&D characters. And it makes me feel really sad, because I do really like Leafeon, and, like, I feel like maybe I could have done better. I don't know. Like, there's something, like, I'm, like, not as, like, super, super excited. I still like his backstory, like, Holt's backstory and stuff, and I still like him in general. I just don't get quite as excited about, him as I do some of the other characters. And I feel bad for it, but I can't help it. But with his sim here, obviously, like in the previous ones, I have wrote down 5 traits that I want to give them. If I can use that mod, if the mod is working by the time I go put them in the household. Because I am doing, like, a little mini-series where I put all these characters in the same household and see what happens. But if I can't use it, I have 3 aspirations. 3 traits that I've chose to do for, like, the main traits, and then 2 other ones that I'll add if I get a chance. Which, the main 3 that I gave him is Green Fiend, Loves Outdoors, and Good. He is very much a little googie egg. I will hope to give him Ambitious and Self-Assured afterwards, because he does gain some confidence as he travels and things like that, and he's very, very much determined to try to find this artifact that his father talked about. So that is sort of like the traits that I feel like most represent him in Sims. But yeah, I definitely wanted him to have more of, like, a woodland feel, you know, the Nomi lifestyle. So honestly, I think this is what is supposed to be the hermit's outfit. But I thought it fit pretty well for him, because, like, even after he starts getting better and, like, leveling up, I can't imagine him stressing too much about clothes. Like, I think he would rather try to fix his current clothes, or just make some from, like, nature in some sort of way. Like, I don't think he would stress about it as much. And, like, there's a few other ones. I don't think Eva would necessarily stress about clothing, but she definitely would want to make sure that she at least looks slightly put together. And, like, she has the outfit, like, fits for whatever she's doing. Like, you know, it's not getting in the way or not getting annoying. But him, I think he's just, like, he really would not be stressed about clothing. So, I thought this fit perfectly. And I really love his sim. Like, his sim is so adorable. And I want to love this character as a D&D character more. It's just especially some of the later on ones, which you'll probably notice when I talk about them, that I'm like, yeah! But anyway, I do hope you still at least like his sim and how he turned out. I feel, like, really bad for sticking him with some of the sims that are going to be going in here, because I picture him so much as, like, this little sweet, innocent googie egg, and some of the characters are not sweet, innocent googie eggs, and I'm like, please don't pick on Holt, because I feel like y'all will, but don't do that. He's sweet, innocent boy. Leave him alone. But we'll just have to see what happens. Let's hope the best for Holt in his future endeavors with the rest of the housemates and stuff like that. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Who is your favorite so far? I definitely would like to know which one you like more. But anyway, for now, I will be ending it here. Definitely keep an eye out for future episodes. Like, subscribe, you know, that lovely YouTube goodiness. But, bye-bye for now!